All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dining with the Ducks, our Cheese and Quackers edition. We're here with Jodi again, and she is going to talk about her experience at the California Grill. And it's not just the normal California Grill that she went to with the full menu. This is the special 50th anniversary with
It's the fancy schmancy one.
the big prefix dining menu. And so we're going to dive into that a little bit and see what her opinion is on that. It's someplace we've never actually eaten a meal at, so this will be
Right.
good for us as well.
And I think, again, we've got to start out with the whole where in the world is the Cali Grill?
Right. So the California Grill is at the Contemporary on the top floor, but it's a little weird because you check in at the hostess stand on the second floor, and then they walk you over to the elevators and they let you go upstairs. It's kind of like secret agent, I feel like. So the check-in station is at the second floor. Now you do it all in the app, but you still have to check in there and show them that you're legit and you're allowed to go upstairs to be with all the
They
fancy.
have like secret badges to get up, right?
There's a code, special word, handshake.
Special handshake.
So this is my second time eating at California Grill. We ate there in August of my 40th birthday trip, which was a couple years ago, with the kids. And I had a good time that evening. And we went out and saw the fireworks that time. So that was fun. That's now been quite a few years though.
Because that's an added bonus of Cali Grill, right? Like if you eat at the California Grill, you can come back with your receipt in time for the fireworks and watch.
I don't know the rules on that right now. So when we were there years ago, we ate there and then we went out onto this, I don't know,
viewing platform.
It's kind of a runway type thing. I don't know how to explain it. And that's where we saw the fireworks. And again, that's been now 6 years ago. So, but this time we didn't ask about the fireworks. We didn't, because we needed to go to bed early. They didn't mention watching the fireworks to us. So I have no idea. Like, I don't know what the rules are right now with COVID and protocols and what decks are open and how that all works. And if you have to book it a certain way, I honestly don't know.
Okay. We'll look that stuff up and put it in the show notes. So if anybody's curious, because now
and that's probably always, changing and progressing and evolving based on rules and where everything is. So that's where it is right now as of this trip in January 2022. So when someone goes to look at this episode 2 years from now, they're going to be like, what are they talking about? Of course I can go watch the fireworks.
Hopefully by then they're like, COVID, what?
Yeah.
So you went in January 22. So this is a marathon weekend.
This was marathon weekend. So here's the funny story about this. So Tim and I ran Wine and Dine, which was in November of 2021. And then marathon weekend was January 2022. It just so happened that our dining window, the 60-day dining window, opened up while we were there for Wine and Dine race weekend. Okay. So during the 5K, I was like, Tim, we got to run really, really fast because we got to get to the bus and we got to book the stuff. And I'm just grabbing different restaurants. And I saw California Grill and I was like, well, okay, I'll book it, because you can always cancel if it's more than 24 hours out. So I had us booked there for the 5th, which was the night before the 5K. So that was Wednesday evening. So it was after we saw you guys at the expo, we were going to California Grill that evening. And our thought was, well, we can suffer through a 5K after having a really amazing meal the night before. Yeah. I would not recommend this before the full marathon or the half marathon, but before the 3 miles, I knew we were going to be goofing around, and so it was fine. So our reservation, I want to say was at like 5:20 or something, nice and early. Again, because we wanted to eat early and have our food digest. So we didn't see the fireworks, but we saw this lovely, beautiful, gorgeous sunset. So that was a bonus for eating early with the old people.
Or the other runners, because it's totally fine. It's Disney. You can eat whenever you darn well please.
I know. And so we ate early.
So tell us about the atmosphere. Once you go up the private elevator to your secret little lair,
yes.
What happens when you come off that elevator?
So you get off that elevator and then there's another hostess stand there, and they're clearing your name again because you have to make sure you're on the list. And it's a really very large restaurant. It's panoramic, I would say. You know, from your left to your right, there's quite a lot of tables and quite a large viewing space. So bigger, not depth wise, but width wise, it's really, really long. So we checked in with that hostess stand, and it's really, you know, Tim and I are big wine people. And so they've got all these wine racks all over the place. Of course, we were looking at all the wine and checking it out and seeing what they have. And so you check in with that hostess stand, even though you checked in with the hostess stand downstairs. Now you checked in with the new hostess stand, and then they take you to your table. And I have to say, so at first I was a little bummed because we weren't right on the windows. We were, you know, one row back, I guess is how I'd explain it. I'm like, man, this kind of stinks. Like, I want to be right up on the window. I want to have the great view. But there's not a bad view in there. It's great. So.
Yeah, and I'll post a picture of what you sent, because when you sent that picture, I never really had a desire to go to California Grill before, but based on the picture, I just want to be there because it looks very open and spacious and bright, and the view is forever and ever on and on and on.
Yeah, it's super classy, very it's kind of got a modern touch now, which goes with the contemporary. The wall, the light fixtures kind of are cool, you know, not retro, that's not the word I'm looking for, but kind of a modern, clean feel. So where we were sitting, right in front of us was Space Mountain. So you could, I mean, we had a great view of Space Mountain, and I mean, it was pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
So what'd you order? What do you guys have? I know it's a prefix menu. So how does this work for the 50th?
So our server's name, you guys ready?
His name. You remember your server's name?
Oh, because you'll find out. His name was Walter.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yep. So we had Walt at Walt Disney. He had been there for 26 years, and he was by far one of the best servers I ever had in my entire life. He was personable, super fun, really cool. Gave us his email address at the end. I mean, just he's like, whenever you guys are coming back, let me know. I mean, he was phenomenal. And because he's been there 26 years and because he has seen the evolution of this restaurant, I kind of said to him, like, what do you recommend? And I say that to a lot of servers, but really in this time, I'm like, listen, you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. Lead us to the promised land here. What should we order? So when you go to California Grill now, the first thing they do is they give you this fancy new menu for the 50th anniversary. And it's this
did you
lovely
see that, or did you get to bring that home without hiding it in your purse?
So I did not hide it in my purse. They gave it to you. Apparently they're selling them on eBay for $30-something. Who knew? And I'm not sure I would buy that. But so it's this awesome menu that folds out and it kind of tells you the 50th anniversary story at the top. And then it has everything listed here. And it's now you know, in the past you could say, I mean, I've heard people say that they just go up there for the sushi or they just go for the flatbread or whatever it may be. Now you can't do that. Maybe at the bar area you can, I don't know. But you pay for all three, the appetizer, the main course, and the dessert. So you might as well get it. What we really appreciated, because Tim and I are really big wine people. We go to California often. We are California wine drinkers. We know go to a lot of vineyards out there. We know a lot of winemakers. So they're doing the price per person just for the meal is $89 per person. And then they do a guided wine pairing, if you should choose to, for $39. Now you may think that doesn't sound like a good deal. Some of the wines that they have on here are like $300 bottle of wine. So when you think you're getting a glass of that as part of your course, this was a no-brainer for us. This was an absolute quick decision. We looked really quick and we looked at we were like, oh, Robert Bialy, Black Chicken. Okay. Silver Oak. Okay. Nickel and Nickel. Okay. The Prisoner. Okay. Like these are names of vineyards that we know, and we know the price of those wines. And we're like, and yes, that we would like to upgrade to the wine pairing. So what was funny is Walter was saying, and what I was having a problem with, I was like, gosh, some of this food sounds really awesome, but I really want to try that wine. And he said that's been kind of some of the issue, is that some of these wines are so phenomenal that you may choose a different food than you thought you were going to choose just because you want to try that wine pairing that goes with it. Because you don't pick. So, like for example, the oak fired fillet of beef came with a nickel and nickel Cabernet. So it's not like you picked the wine to go with the food. Whatever that food pairing was, they gave you the wine to go with it.
That's interesting.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, who aren't wine people, pairing your wine with different foods completely changes the taste of both.
Absolutely.
And so what your nose does is amazing. So I love that they have it for you so that you're getting the best for, the food, and you're getting the best choice for the wine at the same time.
And you can tell the chef and the sommelier absolutely have spent a lot of time going through the menu and going through the wine pairings and making sure that they were good matches, because they were phenomenal. But Walter was he was so cool. So, and he was like, so the guy over there is eating this, and that's really good, and I may recommend that to you, but the guy over there is eating this. And he was kind of showing us other people's plates, which is kind of funny. And so California Grill is known for sushi. So if you, they had this sushi trio, and he was like, listen, there's a sushi special tonight, which is really, really good. Or I could tell you what I do is, even though this is a sushi trio, this is the best out of the trio. I could give you just that if you want. Like, so they were really cool about, well, he was at least really cool about, this is the menu, but if you want to do a little something here and there, we can make that happen for you.
Nice.
Which was, he was just super fun and super cool. And just listening to him talk about being there for 26 years and seeing the various things, and he met his wife there. And I mean, it just, I could have sat and talked to him forever. So.
Right. And sometimes it's the people in the restaurant, the servers, the hostess or host, that just makes the difference.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
That's great. What did you end up ordering food?
Okay. So I did have the sushi appetizer, which was paired with a Sauvignon Blanc, which was quite lovely. And then Tim had the braised beef short rib wontons, which was paired with a silver oak cab. And I'm telling you, those had a little kick to them, but they were so good. So Tim and I tend to share our meals. I get food envy really quickly. And so we like to, you get this and you get this, and we'll split halfway through. So that's typically what we do. And we did it this time. And the roll that I got was the spicy Kazan roll. It was delicious. So it was, again, kind of our own surf and turf going on there. And this is a relaxed, enjoyable, make sure you have plenty of time meal. This is not a, hey, I got to be someplace in 20 minutes. I've got a reservation to go get someplace else. This is a take your time, enjoy the atmosphere.
Yes.
It's yes, we have taken our kids there before, 6 years ago, but I would make sure that your kids know how to behave in a nicer restaurant if you choose to take them there, because it was almost exclusively adults. Yeah. There were a couple of kids in there, but it was mainly adults. Right. Yeah, it's fancy.
Right.
Yes, a little intimidating for little ones for sure.
Yeah.
So what was your main course?
So our main course, Tim had the oak fired fillet of beef with a black truffle brown butter, which was delicious. And that came with a nickel and nickel cab. And I went with the cast iron grilled pork tenderloin with a goat cheese polenta, and figs, because I love figs. And that came with the Prisoner Red blend. And I typically wouldn't order a pork tenderloin because it's one of the dishes that I make a lot at home. Everybody in our house likes pork tenderloin. I make it a lot of different ways. So when I saw it, I'm like, should I? And when Walter was like, you want to get the pork tenderloin? I'm like, okay, I want to get the pork tenderloin.
All right.
And he was right. It was really delicious. I love seafood, but I knew, because this was a race weekend, I knew I was going to be eating a lot of salmon throughout the week, because that's really good for my stomach when I do longer runs. And because this was before the 5K, I was like, well, if I'm going to have some red meat or some pork, this is the night to do it. So,
right.
And it was stunning. It was delicious.
Wonderful.
And
How
for
about
desserts?
my favorite desserts?
So we did have dessert this night. I tend to not order dessert at menus, but because it was included in the price, you bet your bottom dollar that I was gonna eat the dessert. So I had the 5 magical bites, which had 5 little beautiful desserts to celebrate the 50th anniversary. So there was a honey, lemon, carrot, strawberry, and chocolate flavored different dessert. They were gorgeous. They were almost too pretty to eat. Of course, I ate them. And that came with a glass of sparkling, which I love sparkling. So that made me really happy. And then Tim had this, what did he have? Oh, the
Valrhona.
chocolate tort, which I think I probably reached my fork across the table and took a couple of extra bites of his dessert. It was really good. It kind of tasted like a deconstructed Snickers bar, maybe, but elevated. Not like much better than a Snickers bar. It was so good. But that came with a late harvest wine, kind of a dessert wine, which I don't tend to like. So I was happy he had that wine because I didn't want that. I was happy with my bubbles drinking my sparkling wine.
That cake is the only thing I can say that we've had experience with from California Grill, because when we stayed at the Contemporary, right after everything reopened in July of 2020, we ended up going up to the lounge and had just desserts. And wow, that cake is amazing.
I wouldn't even use the word cake because I don't like cake. Cake is dry and yuck. I'm not a cake girl. This was dense and not brownie like. I don't know how to explain it.
More like fudgy.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so good.
We'll post pictures of that one too, because it's pretty also.
Yes,
and you don't often think that with a chocolate cake.
Overall, first of all, this was not a cheap night. I knew this was not going to be an expensive evening. I knew walking into it. That's why when I found the reservation when we were on the bus after we ran the 5K, I'm like, well, I'll just book it. And then if we decide to cancel it, we can cancel it. But I knew this was a great opportunity where we were at Disney without our children. That doesn't happen very often. It happened in November and January, but that's not normal. That really never happens. So I knew, instead of trying to figure out something, because now I don't want to take my kids for $90 a head.
Right.
I mean, that, all of a sudden, this is $400 for your family.
Yes.
Like that without a tip or anything.
Right.
So,
and it's a nice little date night to treat yourself and a nice start to, especially a running weekend or any weekend or any trip at Disney where you're without kids.
Yeah, it was a really incredible experience. I don't think I would do it every trip. I don't know that my budget would allow me to do it every trip. But I don't know if you guys remember, but Sam's Club was doing that Disney gift card thing on Thanksgiving night or whatever it was. And so I purposely bought those gift cards for race weekend because then I felt like it was like play money. So I was like, wow, this is already prepaid. Because now without the dining plan or anything, when you're dishing out your credit card every single time, all of a sudden you get your bill at the end of your trip and you're like, oh dear God, what do we eat? But because back in the day when you're on the dining plan, it was like a credit. You had prepaid it all. So it was all before your trip. Now that you're doing it at every time, it's when you finish your trip and you're like, geez, oh Pete's, especially when it's a festival and you're trying a little of this and trying a little of that. Well, those $10 items, suddenly you look at the end of the night, you're like, how in the world did that happen? Like I only had bites of food. So
yes. So I'm going to guess, based on what you've said about Walter, that your service rating on a scale of 0 to 10 would be like a 10 plus.
10 out of 10. He was
wonderful.
He was phenomenal. There was nothing, we got a glass of sparkling to toast before dinner, and my glass had a little lipstick stain on it, and he immediately swept it away. And he's like, ugh, you can't have that, and got me a new glass without a question. He was phenomenal. I mean,
good.
If you've worked at California Grill for 26 years, you got to be doing something right? Like clearly people like you and you're good at your job. And that's why I kind of, went with all of his recommendations because, I thought, well, if you've been there that long, you know what you're talking about. So,
right. So taking into account that this is a fancier dinner, it's, a fancier atmosphere, it's a more sophisticated menu and more options as far as wine, more expensive, maybe less obvious wine options than you would see in other Disney restaurants. Where would you put the bang for the bill balance? And again, keeping in mind this is Disney too.
Right. Surprisingly enough, I'm going to give it a really high score for the wine pairing portion, because $39 for 3 pours of really exclusive high-end wine is a phenomenal deal. So I'm going to say that part is a really good value. Now, when you think about $90 for 3 courses, if you break that up and think about it, well, if your main course you think is like $30 to $40 and your dessert, it's a little more, it's on the steeper side of things.
Harder to justify.
But again, if you have I would not go here every trip. But if you have a special occasion and you can get a reservation, it would be worth it. In particular, if you can figure out the fireworks scenario too. We didn't even attempt that because we knew we needed to get to bed. So that wasn't even a part of our agenda this trip, but it was quite lovely. And I don't regret spending the money there for that meal at all. It was very memorable. And
that alone, I think, adds value.
Yeah.
It's not always about the food. It's not always about the drinks. It's about the whole overall experience and the memories and, the moment with whoever you're with. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was a guy who must be local at a table next to us, and he was talking to the manager, and he even said to the manager, like, I can't believe these wine pairings that you have going on with this food. And I'm shocked to see the wine, So I think, again, that to me was a great value, and people were really like thinking, wow, $40, you think that's a great value. But honestly, no, having the wine knowledge that we do, knowing these wines, that was a good deal. So, but I think some people may miss going up there just to get the a la carte type of meals that they would do that would make it much more affordable. So if you go up there and just have sushi, or have one person gets a flatbread and the other person gets sushi, you're not spending near as what you are now. But I think for the 50th, they can demand a higher level and the restaurant was full. So there are people there. It's not like they went to this menu and people were saying no. So
yes. All right. Well, thank you for joining us again. I love hearing about places I haven't been to yet, because I feel like we've been to a lot of restaurants, but it's always fun to hear about ones I haven't.
I know. I love hearing everyone. It makes my dining goals keep growing, though. My list is forever growing.
The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Right.
I need to hit up some more of the Springs. I don't tend to go to the Springs very often. So everybody talks about all the great restaurants over there. I'm like, oh, I need to go over there.
We'll get you some reviews for those.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Well, we appreciate it, Jodi, and appreciate everybody for watching more of the Dining with the Ducks, the Cheese and Quackers edition. So have a great evening, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks.